The stage was dark. A single spotlight cut through the silence like a blade. In the center stood a small man from Manila, his hands shaking around a cheap wooden guitar. He had flown 20 hours just for this moment. His name was Rico, and he had nothing left except his voice and the memory of his brother who taught him how to sing. The audience in the Los Angeles theater didn't know his name. They didn't know that his mother sold her only gold necklace to buy him a plane ticket. They didn't know that he slept in a bus station the night before because he couldn't afford a hotel. All they saw was a poor Filipino with calloused fingers and a faded barong Tagalog. The judges sat behind a long table, bored and tired. The biggest star among them was a man named Harrison Blake, a famous television judge known for his sharp tongue and cruel jokes. When Rico introduced himself and said he came from a small fishing village, Harrison laughed out loud. The microphone caught every nasty breath of it. Then Harrison leaned forward and said the words that would change everything. He said, "Another karaoke singer from the Philippines? What's next, a magic show with a chicken?" The audience laughed nervously. Some people booed. But Rico just closed his eyes. He placed his fingers on the guitar strings. And then something happened that nobody in that theater could explain. The air changed. The lights flickered once. And Rico began to sing a song that his dying brother had written on a hospital bed just 3 weeks before. The song had no title. It was never recorded. It was never performed for anyone except a dying boy and his older brother who promised to carry the melody to the world. As the first note left Rico's mouth, Harrison Blake's smile froze. The second judge dropped her pen. The audience stopped breathing. Because this was not a karaoke performance. This was not a talent show act. This was a ghost arriving through sound. This was a poor fisherman's son channeling something so pure and so broken that it made the richest people in the room feel like beggars. And that was only the first 10 seconds. The sound that came out of Rico's throat was not loud. It was soft. It was so soft that Harrison Blake had to lean forward to hear it. But Sa
tahimik na gabi, ako'y nag-iisa. Mga tanong sa hangin, walang kasagutan pa. Mga pangarap ko'y tila naliligaw sa mundong hindi ko maintindihan. Ngunit sa bawat luha na aking pinipigil, may tinig sa puso na pilit sumisigaw. Sa gitna ng dilim, may liwanag pa rin. Kahit anong sakit, di ako uurong sa hangin. Hawak ko ang pag-asa, kahit ako'y mahina. Babangon at lalaban para sa sarili ko. Mga alaala'y parang sugat na sariwa. Bawat hakbang ko'y may bigat na dala. Ngunit sa likod ng lahat ng aking takot, may lakas na di ko pa natatagpuan. At kahit ako'y madapa at masaktan, alam kong may dahilan ang bawat laban.
scrap metal and woke up in a charity hospital with 3 months to live. That was when Tomas wrote the song. He wrote it on torn pages of a notebook while morphine dripped into his arm. He wrote it because he wanted to leave something behind. He wrote it because he knew Rico had the voice. He wrote it because their father drowned in a typhoon when they were small, and their mother worked 3 jobs, and the only inheritance those 2 boys ever had was music. Tomas died on a Tuesday. Rain was pounding the tin roof of the hospital. Rico held his brother's hand and felt it go cold. Then he took the notebook pages, folded them carefully, and pressed them against his heart. He promised Tomas that the whole world would hear that song. But he never imagined that the whole world would hear it under the mocking eyes of a famous American judge. As Rico sang the second verse, the camera operators forgot to zoom. The sound engineers forgot to adjust levels. Everyone just stared. The song climbed higher. Rico's voice moved from soft to strong, from whisper to thunder, without any effort that anyone could see. It was like watching a river rise. Harrison Blake's hand moved to cover his mouth. The female judge next to him, a former pop star named Diana Ross, had tears running down her face. The third judge, a hip-hop producer named Marcus Lee, had both hands in the air like he was at church. And the audience? The audience was standing. Not all at once. One person stood. Then another. Then 10. Then 100. Then the entire theater rose to its feet like a single living creature. But Rico did not open his eyes. He did not see them. He was back in that hospital room. He was holding his brother's cold hand. He was promising a dead boy that his song would never die. The chorus hit like a wave. The words were in English now, because Tomas wanted the world to understand. Even when the ocean takes me, even when the sky falls down, I will find you in the silence, I will never leave this town. That line broke something in Harrison Blake. The famous judge, the man who had mocked a Filipino karaoke singer just 3 minutes earlier, began to cry. Not a single tear. He sobbed. His shoulders shook. His expensive suit wrinkled as he bent forward and covered his face. The other judges reached for him, but he pushed them away. He was not crying from guilt. He was crying from recognition. Because Harrison Blake had a brother too. A brother he had not spoken to in 17 years. A brother who lived alone in a trailer park in Ohio after Harrison became famous and forgot where he came from. The song ripped through Harrison's armor like paper. And then, in the middle of all that chaos, something unexpected happened. Rico stopped singing. The music cut off. The theater went completely silent except for the sound of 3,000 people holding their breath. Rico opened his eyes. He looked directly at Harrison Blake. And he walked off the stage. The stage manager tried to stop him. Security guards moved toward the wings. But Rico kept walking. He walked past the velvet curtains. He walked past the cameras. He walked down the metal stairs at the side of the stage and into the darkness of the backstage hallway. 3,000 people sat in stunned silence. The producers screamed into headsets. Harrison Blake stood up, ripped off his microphone, and ran after him. Diana Ross and Marcus Lee followed. The audience began to chant. Rico! 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 The sound was so loud that it shook the light rigging above the stage. Backstage, Rico found a concrete stairwell and sat down on the bottom step. He put his head in his hands. The guitar rested across his knees. He was not crying. He was just tired. So tired that his bones ached. He had flown 20 hours. He had slept in a bus station. He had poured his brother's dying breath into a song for a judge who had mocked his country. And now he wanted to go home. He heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps. Expensive shoes on concrete. Harrison Blake appeared at the top of the stairwell, breathing hard, his face wet and blotchy. Behind him came Diana and Marcus. The three richest, most powerful people in that building stood frozen, looking down at a poor fisherman's son who had just humiliated them all without saying a single angry word. Harrison opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He tried again. Still nothing. Then he did something that nobody expected. The famous judge walked down the concrete stairs, sat on the dirty floor next to Rico, and took off his microphone pack. He set it aside. He turned to face the small Filipino man. And he whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My brother. I haven't spoken to my brother in 17 years. I didn't even go to his wedding. And I don't know why. I got famous. And I forgot." Rico lifted his head. He looked at Harrison Blake. The famous judge looked small now. Without the lights and the cameras and the makeup, he was just a scared old man who had wasted 17 years of brotherhood over nothing. Rico said nothing for a long time. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out the folded notebook pages. Tomas's handwriting. The original song. He held them out to Harrison. "My brother wrote this 3 days before he died," Rico said. "He never got to hear anyone sing it back to him. Would you like to read it?" Harrison took the pages with trembling hands. He read the first line. Then he broke down completely. He sobbed so hard that his body shook. Diana knelt down and put her arm around him. Marcus sat on the other side and patted his back. And Rico, the poor Filipino who had been mocked on national television, reached out and put his hand on Harrison's shoulder. That was the moment the producers found them. The cameras were still rolling. The live feed had never cut. The entire world was watching. 70 million people saw Harrison Blake cry on a dirty concrete floor. 70 million people saw Rico forgive him. And then something even stranger happened. Harrison Blake stood up. He wiped his face. He looked directly into the nearest camera. And he said, "America. I have been a fool. But I am going to fix it tonight. Right now. On live television. I am going to call my brother. And then I am going to do something I have never done before. I am going to give a contestant the golden buzzer. Not because he has talent. But because he reminded me what it means to be human." The audience exploded. The producers cheered. Diana Ross grabbed the golden buzzer from the judge's table and ran it backstage. Harrison took it. He held it out to Rico. But Rico shook his head. "No," Rico said softly. "I don't want the buzzer. I don't want the prize. I just wanted the world to hear my brother's song. And now they have. That's enough." Harrison stared at him. The entire world stared at him. Then Rico smiled for the first time that night. It was a small smile. A tired smile. The smile of a man who had kept his promise. "But," Rico added, "if you really want to do something for me, help me bring my mother here. She sold her gold necklace for my plane ticket. I want to buy it back for her." Harrison Blake fell to his knees. On live television. In front of 70 million people. He fell to his knees and bowed his head. "I will buy your mother 100 gold necklaces," he said. "I will fly your whole village here. I will pay for your brother's hospital bills. I will do anything. Just please. Sing that song again. One more time. For my brother too." And that is what happened next. Rico walked back onto the stage. The orchestra found his key. And he sang Tomas's song again. This time, Harrison Blake stood beside him. Not as a judge. As a brother. As a man who had just learned that it is never too late to say sorry. When the final note faded, the applause did not stop for 20 minutes. Rico did not win the competition that season. He withdrew his name the next day. But he didn't need to win. Because within 1 week, a recording of that performance had been viewed 400 million times. Within 1 month, a record label signed him for $1 million. Within 1 year, he built a hospital in his village named after his brother Tomas. And Harrison Blake? He flew to Ohio the very next morning. He knocked on a trailer door. An older man with Harrison's eyes opened it. They stood there for a long time. Then Harrison said, "I heard a song. And it was about us." The two brothers hugged for the first time in 17 years. All because a poor Filipino fisherman's son kept a promise to a dying boy. All because a judge mocked him first. And all because the world learned that talent is not about how well you sing. It is about how deeply you feel.